on? Are we on? Yes. Stop streaming. Start recording. Hello. This is Monday, I think 16th of February, and I wanted to talk to you about my latest in today's episode 2 of my podcast, which is called Hello World Problems, I'm gonna be here alone. Today no one is joining me like last week. So this week I will be talking about how I let AI build like 80% of my SaaS, and why I think it's a justified, why I think it's a good idea. And what are my experiences in writing code or creating application, building a product with AI. So as you can, like, I think I can, like, my experience here is something like I'm moving away from sort of like a craftsman who would write his own code to like a creative director mode, where it's actually me telling some other source how to actually do it, but it does it for me. So that's how I actually feel about writing with AI now. Let me just open the chat here as well, just in case, although I think I will be responding to it later. So I will be telling my story of how I built my product and how is it going so far, and what are my plans for AI coding in the near future. So before this project, and like before maybe last 6 months, I used to write a lot of code myself. So I was very skeptical of writing, of creating code by AI. I just didn't trust it enough, So this was, and I would use it occasionally. So I would use like a, help mode, like the mode where it would be helping me write the code. So if I was writing, it would just give me suggestions. I liked that, actually. This was pretty good. I didn't really go much beyond. So this was my first product where I would be actually doing like a vibe coding, where I would be like, telling it to do, and just wouldn't really get so involved into the code itself. So this is, in a way, despite me working in the industry for like 15 years, this was actually a new experience for me. And I wasn't really sure if I would be okay with that. So yeah, as I said, before I used to write every line. Now I would actually, in this case, I wrote maybe 20% myself. I wrote initial stuff, and then later my work would be to fix some errors that I would see, and then let AI do the rest. So before I jump into the topic today, this is episode 2 of my Hello World podcast, which Hello World Problems podcast, in which I'm talking about SaaS, about AI, programming, about programming itself, a career. Last week we actually talked about whether we should study computer science. Me and Łukasz, who is actually currently studying computer science, we tried to actually find some positives and negatives about doing it this way. And this week I will be doing something a bit more personal and talking about my project itself. So yeah, today, yeah, it's much more practical than the last week, although this is how I actually see the story. So this is my story of building my SaaS, where 80% of it, of the code, was generated by AI, and there were moments where I wouldn't even look at the code output of the AI. So I'm not really. So this is actually what happened over that past couple of months. So I started actually. somewhere in November. Although I had some AI generated stuff from Figma AI. So I had this Figma AI designs. So initially I actually created two designs. One would be for mobile and one would be for web. There is this mode, really cool actually, which is like AI make code. And well, do I still have the, I don't know, like I have design actually that I created. But basically I just had a prompt. I just made a prompt with ChatGPT, which actually explained to Figma AI what I wanted to build. So my prompt was like this long, explaining more or less what is the app after like a initial interaction with ChatGPT, where I would be like discussing what I want to build. And then I actually had like a good prompt here. Although like we could do it easily without it. We could just start here and just give it like a couple of instructions. Although I wanted to actually save on those prompts. I didn't want it to do too many prompts in Figma because it has a daily limit, I think, of 3. So, you know, I'd rather actually do like a long prompt and then maybe update it during that time. And like I actually had like initially free prompts, and this actually gave me pretty good base for my app. And on that app, I actually create like my initial apps. My initial app is here. Let me just try to run it because this is almost independent project. So I actually thought that I will be using it. Currently, I'm not really using it, but it might actually come back, or I might actually redo it from scratch. But for now, I still have it within my projects, and start. And I don't know if probably it's dev because it's fight. Is it? Oh, it's not yarn. It's pnpm dev. Yeah, probably. pnpm install. Is it like, okay, I might have actually, yeah, there is no project yet. So I've actually initially created this mobile project, although like the client that I had, because this wasn't the pattern market as an idea, wasn't just my idea. It was actually, I had a client and my friend who wanted that kind of applications. So he was managing his Planero. He was managing his deliveries. So Planero is basically a delivery planning application. Let's see if I have any of his. So the idea for Planero came out from me and my friend, who we were discussing like his case. So he's actually working on a. No, that's not the one. I don't think I actually have the purchase that. Oh, I think that's the one. Okay, so he's actually managing his products in Excel, and he is managing them by months. And there is just like he tried actually multiple things. So he initially tried like things like popular things like Figma, not Figma. He tried Asana and Trello for, you know, those apps where you can actually do a Kanban and drag and drop things from place to place. I don't know, like I can't find it now. And then he also tried like industry standards. You know, there is some competition out there which is doing similar stuff, although those apps are way bigger, you know. So there's actually much more that they're actually doing. They're much more expensive as well. And but on the other hand, they didn't really serve his purpose. So we came out with an idea where, you know, I would actually build something custom for him. So this was, you know, this time it wasn't, he wanted to actually be able to move away from his Excel into different sort of cloud-based app. And then this would actually allow him to, you know, to manage the products like the Excel doesn't allow. So basically there's like currently he can just manage the project himself, and he can manage deliveries and products himself because Excel allows that to him. But like there's not much flexibility with that. So he actually after trying multiple options, he actually came back to Excel. But then he showed me that Excel and he said, okay, this is what I want basically. This is how I see it, and let's actually build something that would support that. And so some of my ideas were to obviously allow him to import his Excel and display that as a table, and then allow you to actually add and change the columns of the table. So we have that functionality here, and you can add and export. Sorry, add, delete, and rename, move them around those columns. And also you can export back to Excel your tables, and based on that you could just like work on it in Excel and then import here, or then otherwise you would just do it here, which would probably be better, because then you have all the benefits of online SaaS with a database with different users and things like that. I created the initial Django structure with all the models. Where's my Django? Django. Where are you? Let me just open just in case. So I created this initial Django structure, which is in my backend folder now. And like if we look at API, obviously folder, there's like my initial stuff was obviously models. So I would actually create some company model with some properties here, and this is just standard Django code. So you can specify some properties that will be in that model, and then the Django handles like what sort of type of data it is, some additional properties, that kind of stuff. If it's a name, this is char field, character field. Hello, my friend. Good to see you again. And this would actually specify what are the properties of that field. And my initial, I think initially I had like a couple of classes, like 4 or 5 classes like this, company and user. Maybe user was actually already added by AI. There's invite now, product. I actually created product myself. There were some business classes as well. But then like I allowed AI to actually expand on that and just build more of that. And then I deliberately left AI to based on that, like if in Figma AI, we can actually the cool thing is we can export a let's just open one of those. Do I have like my, I actually have some of my I should have some of my previous projects here. Okay, let's just I think this looks similar to what I have actually. Remix, can I do that? So basically like in Figma, you actually, with your prompts, you create something like this, For example, let's say that's my dashboard. It looks actually very similar to my dashboard. And what it allows you to do is to export this as a React project. So, I mean, this is not really like always nicest code, but like it's actually very, very workable, So I actually liked what I got in the end. And although like I'm not a big fan of Tailwind myself, so but Figma is actually driving you to actually use Tailwind, and there's the shad CN that is very popular now, but I don't really like it that much. I think like I prefer the some of the more, like I prefer to write some of components myself. But that's my personal choice. It's not like you have to go that way. And then you can download this as a project, so you can just like have it as a repository. So like this what I exported there was actually what I have here, for example, in mobile. And actually my web folder started with that as well. Uh, Figma AI. Yeah, never heard of it. Great. Actually, have a play with it. So basically, it gives you a UI project like this, and it's not like the Figma UI is, in a way, it's a great shortcut. And if you like Tailwind and if you like Shad CN, it's great because you can actually start with it. And although it actually restricts you and makes some choices for you, which you might not like. And personally, I don't really like some of them. But that's just like this is the reality of AI coding. You actually let AI choose some of the solutions. And like currently when I'm actually starting a project, like after this experience, when I'm starting the project, I actually give it some presets. So for example, I prefer styled components, CSS in JS style of things rather than Tailwind. So I actually ask, so then I ask AI to set up like a project structure or like project setup, how are they called? Where you just specify what sort of properties your project, your AI code should have, and then like what? And then once I actually had this Figma thing, I actually went on and just started adding to it and connected it to my backend that I had initial Django backend that I actually set up, and then started iterating on that. I never used a framework before. Always templates or AI to give me a direction. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So there's a question from. I mean, there's a on the chat. There's a message from one of the friends of the channel. I would say already. And he's saying that he's actually using frameworks. He never used frameworks before, and always uses templates. So actually, the type of project that I've actually had set up with Figma AI would actually suit you. So I think that's something that you would like. I do like to have a bit more control over CSS and over how components are laid. So I actually sometimes would prefer to do it slightly different. Although, like with AI, you can also specify different technologies. It will actually do a pretty good job as well. But this time I kind of left it with Tailwind. I didn't really love it, but on the other hand, that's just my personal preference. That's my experience. That I used to write a lot of CSS myself, and I still like to do that myself, to have control over that. And like with what the one downside of this Figma thing, Figma AI was, I don't know, like it's actually well set up. So some of the stuff with Tailwind wouldn't get picked. For example, I would write a class somewhere here. So I would say like wherever. I think margin or something. Is it it's probably M2 or something like that. I don't remember all the classes. I'm not very versed in Figma. Sorry, in Tailwind. But I would obviously probably that's the class. So I would write something like this, and then it wouldn't be picked up for some reason. So I wouldn't really understand why. I would just like try to, and then I would ask AI, can you check what's with this class? Why it's not really being applied? And it would change something, and then it says like, oh yeah, now it's gonna work, and then it didn't work. So like sometimes I would have this, and then also I would have styles in my components. So I would have margin, because I would just have to kind of force it wherever 10 pixels. I think that if you just write it this way, it's gonna work. Margin 10, yeah. So like then I would just have to force it myself. That way, I don't really love it. I don't know. Maybe that's something about the setup from Figma that I got. I never fixed it myself. I couldn't figure it out basically. So that's just what happened. I just had to live with that. I don't really see it as a huge problem. That might be annoying. Some the experienced developer or like the experienced guy in me doesn't really love that kind of structure. That I have two types of CSS classes. I have classes and some inline styles, but it doesn't really stop. It shouldn't really stop me from actually building an app, and it didn't. So sometimes I just had to force it myself. I just had to overwrite it because I didn't really like something that AI did, and my Copilot couldn't figure out what's actually broken. So I had to do it that way. But other than that, I don't think like it's actually something that was a huge problem for me. So yes, so my tech stack here was very actually standard in a way. Like it's still quite a lot of shortcuts anyway, because Django is a framework that does quite a lot of shortcuts. It has quite a lot of um, um, sorry, just a second. Nadia, Loki. Yeah, so Django is very opinionated. You can actually pass some. It's lots of shortcuts. There is quite a lot of stuff that I didn't really. I just wrote, and I knew that there's stuff happening in the background, but I didn't 100% understand what's going on. And I think that the quite often here in views, I actually had like the setup. So like for example, these are actually quite standard paths that I'm actually comfortable with. I think some of the views like this actually grew like with AI too, and so I maybe wrote like 300 or 400 lines here. But there was actually some. Okay, I don't remember actually. I can't say. So for example, you have like a normal endpoint that is, you know, just normal post endpoint that does something, and you just program what it's gonna do and how it's gonna bring the data from the backend. But also like in Django, and I can't find one actually now. You had those like really magical, auto-magical, like how some people say, endpoints that will actually manage multiple things, and maybe custom. Okay, I don't really remember, to be honest. And that's a unfortunate thing about AI coding. You know, you just like first you just kind of learn something, and then when you let it, or the way I did it. First I learned how it's actually done, or like some of it how it's done, but then I just kind of lost it because I didn't really write it myself. So my stack was Django, which is Python framework, React on the front end. I'm most familiar with React. I've been working with React for like 10 years. Although like, I don't really think it's the best now, you know, for the next project, I will probably choose like Vue or Svelte. I think they are just lighter, easier, and quicker, apparently, according to some benchmarks. I think they're actually quicker in rendering data and just lighter and easier to work with actually. So Tom. And other stuff at Tailwind, I actually said that I've used it. I had some standard React stuff, like initially I had React router or React router DOM. I think like React router, which is a very standard choice in React. And then I couldn't really I couldn't make it work on Render, which is a platform which is my server provider, render.com. And that's actually something I just couldn't figure it out. It just wasn't working for some routes. So I actually had to rewrite it with AI. And I think this is the ugliest thing I actually have in my code, which when I look at it, it's just funny. So it's just like lots of those conditional statements. I feel like I could easily rewrite that, but like I just have this kind of a custom built routing in the app. It works. It doesn't really cause me any problems with render, so that's kind of solving the problem. I actually even made a video on that, how I had to downgrade my project to make it work. So I had like a better technology in a way. Like I think like it was better technology, and then I had to actually use this. I don't love it. It works. So that this is, and it looks funny actually. Obviously, like you can see that this is not really how the code should be written. I mean, it's obviously working, but it's just like, yeah, I don't love it. I'm also using a Copilot. I don't know if I can name it as my stack. It's just technological stack. But let's say it is, you know, Copilot is my stack, I guess. So I would actually use multiple different agents. I think most of it was created, quite a lot was created with Claude. Sometimes I would rarely I would jump to GPT models. Gemini, I think I tried a couple of times. I think they're pretty decent. And quite a lot was built with one that was removed now. Where is my... Oh, Grok. Okay, it used to be free. It used to be 0 credits. I think I do think Grok is pretty decent. I think it's way better than they actually charge. Like, so they want you to pay 3x for Claude Opus, and they you know, the Grok code is 0.25. So it's like, this one is how much? 12 times more expensive than this one in terms of credits that you use. And I'm sure it's not 12 times better. I would say probably it's, you know, 10% better or something. I kind of tried also those occasionally. I think like I usually I don't want to just burn through my credit. So I try to use those. And then if I run out of credit, or if I'm low on credit, I just go to Grok. I think that works for me. I think people would recommend me different stacks. Like so far, this works for me. I like it. What I'm getting. Yeah. So what was the good about this setup? What was the good about the AI implementation? So it's obviously a velocity of how quickly it's building features. So often I would just give it like a prompt saying, I just need to, and like how little I have to even explain to it to actually get some good results. And, you know, obviously lots of people will say, oh yeah, it's buggy or it doesn't really build what you want. But often, in the other hand, you would actually get a code that is decent, maybe buggy as well. You have to check it. It's a lot of testing as well. But on the other hand, it's a code that, I mean, it's actually the feature that is often richer than what we would actually expect it to be. So for example, when I said to build me like a help section, yes, so I actually have this help section. I just said like, okay, I just need help. I think like I need the help section. I don't really know even what I want, basically. Can you just try to write down something based on what I have in my project? So like, you know, obviously my Copilot knows my project pretty well. It has a context of the application. And then I would actually just ask it to, you know, can you write a help to all the sections that we have, or something like really generic, something really generic that would actually get it working. And then based on that, it would actually just generate that kind of stuff. So it's like here, it kind of went through all the functionalities we have, and it would just write down what it is. And also like it gave me like some search, like it's pretty decent. I think like some of the layout here is not the prettiest. I don't really like, there's something funny about padding here. Maybe I will fix it later. Yeah, like I could probably, yeah, this padding top, I don't know why it's there. So basically like it's nothing big actually, you know. Yeah, or maybe not, maybe like 2. Yeah, that's probably better. So I should probably pick some of the layout myself, but in other hand, like the what I got was pretty good. I really like that. And recently I actually asked it to create a report, like somewhere where problems can be reported. And I just told it like, okay, you should be able to choose from different types of problems, and then you can put your name, email, and description. So that's what it created. I think it's pretty good actually. Oh, there's already some validation. So I didn't even, in my initial prompt for that, I didn't even said anything about validation, and it did that for me. So, you know, so normally you build feature, and then you just like, depending how you actually, like historically, I would often build a form like this as a test, and then I would just write validation after. And this one just created validation. I don't know how it's done. I don't know if I would like it if I've seen the code in the end. But I think like what I like here is that it's just working from the box, you know. So I just asked the AI, make me this form, and it just assumed that validation should be there. Yes. So that's how I see it. I really don't think like I would myself do the coding quicker, you know. So that's obviously like, this is like, maybe it's not anything that is I'm not discovering anything. AI writes code quicker than you. So, and it does it. In my case, it did it almost always, you know. Quite rarely there was a situation where I would actually think, okay, I would do it quicker. Maybe some minor things. If it's a small thing that it's, you know, it seems like AI can't fix something that you really wanted to fix, then if I would go to the code, maybe I would fix it myself, and then I would have it working. But usually, yeah, thanks for your yeah, thanks. Yeah, I like that you like my stream. But usually what I would realize is he does it way quicker than I do. So, you know, you can have as many years of experience as you want. You could be on the market for 10 years or 15 years like me. And you just realize that AI is doing it quicker. So like, and I feel like that what I've seen in terms of code, it's not like I always love it. I often don't like what it does, but even like the code that is not the prettiest, it's quite functional. I can read it quite easily. So basically, I just realized that it's not really, maybe it's not really written as I like it, but it's still functional. It's still good code. And even like the stuff that the ugly stuff I showed you earlier is pretty good, I would say. Error? So some typing error. I could probably fix it. So that's what I realized actually. So those are actually really important things. Obviously, it builds stuff very quickly, and I think like the most surprised I was when I was actually building authentication and authorization. So there was quite a lot from the box. You know, I obviously had like a long interaction with my AI where I would do the, you know, ask or planning mode. You know, I would just do a long interaction there, and I would try to explain everything that I could think of, and then I would ask it, okay, what else do you think? And like it would add even more. And then like the agent mode would actually go off and build quite a comprehensive AI, sorry, comprehensive so how do I say it even? Authentication and authorization to my app. And I think it's actually working pretty well. I might actually change it soon to a Google one, because I think I will move it to Google servers. That might happen soon. I don't know, maybe. But maybe not. Maybe I will just leave what was written here in Django, and I think I will just call it a day. So yeah, like quite often what I would like, and some people would complain on that. I think for me, it's actually a great advantage of AI is that that lots of features would be generated from very vague prompts. So sometimes, yeah, I would just say, build me something, build me help here. And it will actually build something that I would be surprised actually how well it does. Sorry for that. I would be really surprised how well it did, and with very vague information. Sometimes it would ask me something, or sometimes I would just let it run and then test and see if I like it. And often I did, more often than I was actually expecting it to be. And I was initially very skeptical. So maybe that's even harder. Maybe it was harder to convince me as well. So I have a list of things that I want to say as well, so I don't forget. So obviously, like if you are limited with time, if you are a founder and you want to build something fairly quickly, like for me, there's obviously the problem was, you know, I have to have a product soon. You know, I don't want to be, because I have a limited time. I have a family, I have mortgages, and I either will make this happen and release it and try to sell it, or, you know, it will be just like a project that might not get finished, because I might, if I run out of money, I might need to go back to work. So in this case, I think I did it quite quickly, thanks for the AI. And that was actually one of the biggest most important problems. You know, it had to be quick. It had to be done quickly. And like my initial app took me about 2 months till December. Till I think like in mid-January, I actually had like a working version connected to payments. That was sort of, I said to myself, like in the middle of February, I said like, sorry, of January, I was actually confident to say that this is actually released. This is out there. Unfortunately, no clients yet, but maybe soon. Yeah, so code often was that I would get was just good enough to ship. That, you know, I was actually happy with what I got. So, and as I said, AI would actually create quite a lot of features that I wouldn't really expect to have. And sometimes it would go deeper than I would actually anticipate. So I wrote here that as a feature factory, AI is extremely effective. So if you just want to move on quickly through the features, yes, this will be actually, this is great. And I was actually surprised how good functionality with the AI client, with the what's the name? Not here. With the agent mode I would actually get. So there would be a lot of really good stuff very quickly. I don't see, so like personally, I don't really see much more bugs than I would introduce myself. That's actually quite surprising for me. So I thought I would actually, you know, it will build it quickly, but it will be very buggy. And I don't really see that many bugs. And some of them is obviously me not really explaining very well what I wanted to build. So maybe that's not a bug really, that's just like miscommunication. And that happens all the time. That had happened with every developer, every project. You know, you might have the best project manager, you know, then he puts the tasks, he might forget about something. And is it a bug, or is it just like if it's not really working? That's what I would see normally. So, you know, I wouldn't really see, like if I've seen a bug that would be introduced by my AI, I wouldn't just be so judgmental, so critical about it that, you know, but because I remember myself introducing lots of bugs myself, you know, just because I write the code myself, it doesn't mean that there will be no bugs. It just means that, you know, where is my lamp? Sorry. Yeah, just because you write your code, it doesn't mean that there will be no bugs. Bugs are always. So whether you write it with AI or not, I don't really see that much difference in terms of bugs. And I can imagine that there will be lots of people commenting saying that maybe I'm a bad programmer because I used to introduce lots of bugs. But sometimes people, when judging AI in terms of bugs, people really try to put themselves as a much better developers than they really are. And often people will actually pretend that, you know, they don't really do that many bugs. They do. We do as a programmers do a lot of bugs. This is just like normal thing. We call them features sometimes as for a joke. That's new. Okay. Yeah, like what I actually like what I realized is, to sum up this point, is like AI code is not perfect, but also the code is not trash actually. So like it's nothing like quite often I hear people online saying that this is trash, you know, it's a rubbish code. You just should throw it away once you actually can afford programmers. And I don't think that this is actually my view. You know, I think it's a workable code that I can work with and use in the future. Yeah, so like as I'm saying, it's comparable to what I would actually like. The bugs here are comparable to what I would expect from myself, and speed is just like advantage that just justifies going for AI. Yeah. So let's just look into like real costs of, you know, what I think are the worst part of it. And but this is often like some of it is just my own feelings. So I hate, like, because I actually used this Figma, it writes in specific way. So it actually gives you those components that are actually Shadcn, and it's using Tailwind. Sorry, my daughter is quite loud again. So it's using Tailwind to actually write styles and write those classes, and I don't always like it. But that's just my personal my personal preference. This is how the Tailwind is how Figma has set it up, And some classes didn't apply, didn't work. So me adding a class might not be actually affecting layout for some reason. So then I would have to write class myself. So my conclusion there is that AI has set up the infrastructure incorrectly. So it's either this Figma thing that is setting it up incorrectly, or something happened at the level of my AI agent, but somewhere it would actually be set up incorrectly. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't fix it. I just couldn't get it. So like sometimes I just had to live with it and just let Tailwind fly with, you know, whatever worked to allow Tailwind. And sometimes I would actually ask my AI to, can you write this in inline styles? Can you put, like, if something didn't work in Tailwind styles, I would just ask AI to, can you add it as a style? Yeah, something like this. Can you add, you know, margin? Yeah. So I would actually ask AI, can you write this kind of code? Because I knew that it will work. I knew that this will be actually picked. And for some reason, sometimes here, you know, wherever, I don't know how it's by, I don't know, 3 or something. Sometimes this wouldn't work. I don't know why. I couldn't figure it out. Or some of those flex styles wouldn't work. I don't know, like I just couldn't figure it out. So sometimes I would just do that, and that would work. You know, I could live with that. I don't love it. I don't hate it too much. Another thing I didn't really like is the long frontend files. This is a long file. Usually I wouldn't write them that long, and this is not the longest one. And this is one I actually asked AI to extract some stuff. But also, this is my preference. You know, sometimes I actually like when there is such a long file. I think there is something with the setup as well. So some spacing here is incorrect as well. So here I've got like my tab is much longer than this is four spaces, and the other one has 2. It's kind of funny. It's something wrong with the setup. So even if I save it, I don't think it will actually reshuffle it. So that might be actually something worth looking into. But what I didn't always like is actually the size of my files. They would be way too longer. I could refactor it. I could also write rules for my AI to keep the things below 300 lines, maybe, or something like that. But I didn't. I think like sometimes I'm just because I don't like it, it doesn't say that it's like a bad code. Sometimes it's actually even like, I don't know, I'm moving away from place where I would have really short components. Now I can work with longer components, and I don't mind it. I don't think like it's actually worse. Maybe it's, in a way, it's actually sometimes even more readable because you don't have to jump between different files. And I used to think it's bad to have long files. Now I'm much more open to that. Another downside that I realized was that I have quite a lot of duplication of logic. You know, when I would write my code myself, I would also, after second use maybe of a function or of a component, I would actually extract it into separate components. So then, in a consequence, the files would be shorter, but as also there would be some reusability. So the tables, for example, like I have 3 types of tables now, and they're pretty much the same. If you actually look at the app, this is different table than products table. So this is just different component. This is not a great design in my opinion. Or like if we have a details page, this is product details page, and customers detail are different pages. And like if you actually look at them, they're the same. They look the same. They should be actually using the same component. I can still go to AI and say, just make sure to use the same component. I just didn't really do it. That's a matter of vibe coding and just forgetting about that. Maybe if I was a bit more meticulous, then it would be better. But for some, I don't really do enough of that work. And I can see that I have some bug here. It should be a drop down here. It's not. It's just text. This category shouldn't be. So I can see that I have some bug here, but that's something I didn't really notice earlier. So this is actually obviously like this might affect my long-term maintainability. I don't know still. Like for now, I don't seem to see that problem, you know? Like for some reason where I'm looking, like where I'm thinking, where I'm looking at my code, I don't really see many problems that might actually come in the future with it. That, you know, I might have problems with this later. You know, if this doesn't work, this is a readable code for me. I can actually go in even myself without AI and fix it. And I quite often AI is good in fixing its own errors. So that's good. Yeah, but also, like as I said, like it's quite often those things that I don't like about AI is also me not really explaining it to that how I work. So this is just like mismatch between what's actually most likely on the market. And for example, Tailwind is the most popular now on the market, so that's why AI will choose it. But my preference is different. Also, the length of the file, I usually prefer shorter files. Although, like we can see probably now on the market that people actually are writing, like lots of stuff is actually longer components. And this seemed to be a trend now, maybe because of AI and many people not knowing some of the basics of component structure. But that's what's there, and I don't see it as a huge problem. But if I actually if I don't really if I don't really fix it, I think it might actually lead to some entropy in my project. So the code might actually become more problematic. And I think like the other cost is actually my learning cost. I was actually expecting to learn Django on the way, like much better. You know, I kind of learned some of it. I think I know I can read my code, but like in terms of writing it, I'm not really that versed in Django, for example. So like my knowledge didn't really grow that much because due to the fact that my project is mostly AI. So often I would actually just allow AI to write something and it would just give me this like, okay, I fixed that. This is what was the problem, and I wouldn't just read it. I wouldn't care about that. Okay, so yeah, okay, you had some problem, you fixed it. That's fine. I don't really care. Move on. So that's actually another cost, maybe. But like maybe I want to know Django better, but I know that if I want to be good in Django, I just have to spend time writing Django code. And if I just let AI write it, and just sometimes occasionally I just read what it said about what it did and like how it fixed it, I'm not really learning that much. So that the cost obviously of your AI shortcut is not knowing your code and not learning the code so quickly. So I think like that's a problem. I can live with that. I think the benefits outweigh those cons. That's a problem. So yeah, as I said, like my initial plan was to learn much more about backend. I think I learned some, but I didn't really learn that as much as I expected. In a 3 months contract, like I would expect, like back in the past, if I spent 3 months on a technology, I would actually know it quite well. Usually, I would read much more about it. I would just write my code. Here, like I would be quite reluctant to say like I became some good Django developer, or like I improved my Python skills that much. I think I didn't really improve that much. And like sometimes even like for example, like what I like about Python is the errors it gives you are actually very descriptive. This is good. This is also true often with React. I think that the error handling is actually quite well built. That gives you a lot of information about what's broken. But I wouldn't often look into those errors, and I would just let it go. So like, you know, I didn't really learn debugging as well while building this project. Yeah, so those are some hidden costs. But yeah, like as I'm saying, like as I said, like the benefits outweigh those problems. And the speed and acceleration of how you quickly build features is actually worth it in my opinion. And then like also it gives you, and another actually like a thing thing that I loved is actually when you build something with Copilot, for example, or probably other agents as well. But if you have a context of your app in Copilot, you can actually do your marketing quite quickly because it knows your app, and it will actually be very good at suggesting what you actually needs to know. What am I building? I will answer that question later myself, my friend, because I just want to finish my presentation, and then I will actually go into questions. But make sure to subscribe, obviously, if you didn't so far, because I see you for first time. Samarpan Gupta. I see you first time, so make sure to subscribe, like, comment and stuff. I will answer the questions later. I will try to actually keep it brief. Okay. So so for me as a founder, there are some long-term things I can see that might be a problematic, obviously scaling that thing, because I don't really understand some parts. To be actually harder to be sure when I scale it up that for example, like if I want to scale it up because there are some inefficiencies, the question is whether maybe I should just rewrite the code. Maybe I should recreate this function that is actually causing some inefficiencies, or should I just pay extra for the server? But the fact that I don't really know exactly how this works is a problem. But like with AI, we can still rewrite, we can still try to look for improvements. And if you see that, if you have some statistics on your backend, how performant it is, you will see that there are some problems that could be fixed, and then you can point your AI to actually those problems. So that's what I realized. There were actually moments where, for example, my column management was actually breaking my database. So I have this functionality here where you can manage your columns layout or add new columns, and this would actually there was actually probably some loop or something that would overstrain that would just use too much RAM on my server, and it would shut down my database. I think I fixed that, and I just told my AI to actually fix it, and it did some quite good job. But I pointed it to a correct place, so I think it was actually possible to that. And the problem might be when I try to, like, when the project starts making money, that for me to introduce new developers might be actually tricky, because it's really hard to if I don't know the code like 100%, it's going to be harder for me to actually introduce people to work with it. I will just have to trust that they will actually figure it out themselves, rather than just be able to point them or run them, or just like introduce them better into projects. So I'll have to actually trust people that they will actually figure things out themselves. A coffee, a short coffee break, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, just a second. I have a coffee that just spilled. It's just a couple of drops, so that's not a big problem. So I think like that's what I've seen like so far. Some pros and cons of building things with AI, building a SaaS with AI. Oh, hi there, Messias Castro. Good to see you again. So what do you think, guys? Like, how do you actually find building your stuff with AI? Like, how did you? What were your experiences? Did you like it? Do you think it's something that you should do? Like for example, like if you had money, like if you had like a good budget for your project, would you actually still use AI? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Let me just ask it as a poll, because obviously AI is a huge time saver. So it saves time, is obviously money. So like if you had actually a bigger budget, would you still use AI? I think I would. I think like I'm convinced that it's actually good enough, but that's something for you to consider. And like I think that this is the question that lots of companies now are having. Should we still use AI even if we have money actually to build stuff? Yeah. Start a poll. If you had large development budget, would you still AI for building apps? Yes, no. Okay, start the poll. Yeah, let's see. Yes, I would. Everything comes with trade-off. Yeah. And I think like what I realized, I think I can actually go to questions. I think I went through all of my points. Just as a sum up, like, let me just read to the end of my my list of things that I actually wrote down. If your goal is to ship and validate AI is almost irrational not to use. That's actually a thing that that's my conclusion now, you know, based on that project. If your goal is to become a stronger engineer, better programmer, that using an AI is you shouldn't be using AI that much, I think. If you just want to learn code much better, or if you want to become a better engineer, better programmer, you know, over reliance on AI will actually slow your growth. So that's actually a downside of it. Although, yeah, as I'm saying, if you want to build something, it's way quicker. So yeah, like just like I think I went through all of my points. And so I've been building. So as a sum up, I've built this product, Planero. It took me about 3 months and around 2.5 months to actually get it rolling and get it monetized. Now I'm actually putting like about 10 hours a week into it, and it's a lot of it is actually marketing. I'm trying to get customers and see what they actually want. I have one user so far, but this is a guy who actually helped me building it. And now I'm actually at the stage where I'm building and trying to sell it. Sorry, I'm not really building that much. I'm rather trying to sell it and get users to actually use it and give me their feedback. That's actually the most important part for me. Sorry. But it was actually a really good experience for me to actually, because this was the first product I've built from start to finish with AI. Usually I would just use AI as a help. I would have a, you know, when typing the code, I would have some help here. I wouldn't really use this part that much, you know. I didn't really like it that much. I just learned to like it within last 8 to 10 months. I didn't really, in the past, I wouldn't use that mode at all. So my AI coding would be like when I'm writing my code, I would just use its suggestion. So it's almost like that, you know. I would almost do that and tab it through. Sometimes I would like the suggestions, sometimes not. So that's how I did it in the past. Now I just give a AI agent, often mostly with agent mode, just opportunity to write it for me. And I feel like this is also showing a change in my career. I don't want to be a programmer purely. This is where I spent most of my career in the past, as a programmer, sometimes as a team lead, sometimes as a sort of architect. And I had some obviously graphic design and project management experience, but usually I would be this person who is writing those components. That's a majority of last 15 years of my career, especially last 10 years since I learned React. This is where actually most of my experience went. And this time it was more about like I'm a founder, I'm a person I'm a manager who is telling in this case, it's a system, it's a AI agent, what to build and how to fix it later. You know, how if I've seen something broken, I could quickly pivot into updating it and fixing it. But I wouldn't be actually that much interested in how the code looks, or you know, if there are any problems, if there are any errors like here, you know. I didn't really even care about typings, about whatever structure of my components, whether they are long, short. This component I actually asked the AI to rewrite because it was about 1,500 lines. So I actually, like, at some point I just got too annoyed with the length of it. But like it wasn't something that I was very concerned about. But like in the past, I would be very concerned about like how my component looks, how long is the component, how is it typed correctly, is those yeah, I don't know, like is this structured to what I like? Is it using the technologies I love the most, you know? Or is this, if it's using alert, is this like, is it using the same alert always, or is it, did it create more, do I have like multiple components for alert? So I would actually care about that stuff much more. Now I care much more about like what's actually being built, like what is it doing, and like my time is as a my development time is actually mainly used on observing what's in the app, what's broken, what I don't like, and then asking AI to actually fix it. So I feel much more as a project manager. In a traditional project, you would have a project manager who is looking into the app and trying to see if it's fulfilling business requirements. And here I would be that person myself. I wouldn't be a coder myself. I would rather be a like a project manager here. So this is how my view on project development evolved from the past. Okay, yeah, I'm open for questions, guys. If you have any questions about the project, how I build it. So to answer the Samarpan's question, this app is for managing deliveries. So if you are like a company that is in the middle of that, so you have some providers, so you have some customers in one hand, and you have some suppliers. So there are some people that you order from and order to, and you are in the middle. You actually like you might use this application for managing that. So this is in the past the person who I wrote it with, like created with he would use Excel, and according to like my research, there is still 2/3 of the companies that are like small and medium companies are still using Excel for this, you know. So if you are for managing their deliveries, people still mainly use Excel, and there is competition. Obviously, there are some other apps on the market that do the same, and there are some different apps that actually doing like a Kanban, for example, you know, the status management, but they would usually either be not built specifically for this the deliveries, or they wouldn't actually even fulfill that need. So people would actually either try those apps and like they would realize that this is too difficult, this is, you know, you need to have this is too many features, I don't really know how to use it, I don't need all those features, this is too costly. So this is where actually my app comes in, you know. So it's gonna be competing one with price, but with simplicity of how easy it is to use, because it's just way smaller. There's not so much actually functionality. It's much more niche. It's much more specific for that group of people who are delivering, who are ordering from one place to deliver to other place. And what? And I don't know. I feel like I really hope I will actually get some customers soon. I actually also for this project, so this is my app, but I also have my sales page. So planero.online, planero.online, this is my sales page, which I'm still working on. And one good thing that I used my AI agent was to create this page and to create content for this page, because I wasn't always sure like what sort of stuff I should even put here. You know, I'm not really that experienced with marketing. My wife is, although it's really time consuming. Is this an app or a website? There's two things, obviously. The main thing is an app. It's a SaaS platform for managing deliveries. But I also have a sales website that is actually that its goal is to actually get people to buy the app. So this is more of a, you know, how it's working. I also have this couple of videos that are explaining what's done. This page is just try to convince you to buy this. This is just like standard sales page that you'd have for any app, you know, and some features, some plans that you can actually use, and some stuff that would where I would try to convince you to buy my app. So this is both. It's app and a website. there was my wife, she can make hearts on the coffee, you know, so you have those, we have really fancy coffee machine and coffee shape. Is it like she can do some of those stuff? So she brought me a beautiful coffee, although I didn't notice that, to be honest, because I was busy with my presentation. But yeah. And tech stack, I mentioned that it's usually Python with Django as a framework, and obviously React for the front end. And there are some things like, you know, Tailwind for styling, and with Django, and backend, and the database is Postgres. But to be honest, I don't even look too much into my database. It's mostly managed by my AI. How much of your work is completed? This app, I consider at this stage as completed. There might be some bugs I kind of realize here and there. I would say I've probably done, like, in terms of what I would like to have in the ideal scenario, I'm probably like 97% there. So there are some bugs I might need to fix, but other than that, at this stage where I don't really have customers who would be asking me for some specific functionalities, I think I'm there. There is a consideration to write some integrations with some other systems, so that would be a next stage for me. But at this stage where I'm actually talking about having a MVP that is actually working, that you can actually pay and use correctly for that kind of project, for that kind of problem, this is done. Yes, I would say 97% work completed. And now I'm actually just trying to do you know, for example, improve on my marketing, to try to convince people to at least to sign up for it. And this is actually the bigger problem now. So I think like here, I don't really see many problems with my app. I think I have all the functionality that I expected it to have at this stage. Although I'm still having a problem selling it. So that's actually something that I'm improving. And more work now is going into me doing like this website, redoing this website, doing like marketing stuff, marketing videos. I don't know, in my region area, apps are the applications which we can download and run. I think web app, yeah. So it's a web app, yeah. It's a SaaS product, software as a service. But like that's the, yeah. So I see in my head, app is it doesn't matter on which platform you do and whether you download it or not. In my head, the app is that is not really just information. That is something that actually works with database. So maybe I actually have this. I might be saying it incorrectly. I might be using wrong term. But for me, if you are able to do something in the database and save some data or calculate something and then have it affecting your view or what you actually expect to see here, or like also, you know, when you actually are able to modify how this is looking or how it's actually what it's actually doing, this is an app. This is what I see as an app. If there is a logic that is actually something beyond just displaying text. So this is a website, so it's just showing me how it's displaying text. If once I actually have to do something on the back end, I have to change something, or my actions are actually reflecting what I see, this is an app in my head. Yes, I have all my code on GitHub. There is obviously a pipeline that builds the code. Sorry, that's an answer to Abai Singh. I hope I'm saying it correctly. So I obviously have my GitHub, sorry, not Gmail as well, GitHub. I obviously have my GitHub with all my project. Like this project is here. This is also this is also straight built on render. So I have like a connection there. I actually used to have another server where I would build it as a test, but that's it. Because in my college project, okay, so this is something that Tavab said. Because in my college project, our professor told, if you are making app, do it in Flutter or React Native, which can be downloaded in a phone computer. Yeah, maybe that's another type of app. You know, it's a mobile app. I have a web app. Like in the name that you actually said, the app is there basically. I could easily what I've built, I could easily export into the phone. I could easily allow you to actually use it from the phone, but it will always have to be connected to the internet. And most of the phone apps that you are downloading to your phone, they still have to be connected to the internet anyway. So this is not really something that, just your professor is right as well, but most of the apps today are actually requiring you to connect to the internet. Not in like, there are still some apps where you download it and just work with it. Like some games are that, you don't have to connect to the database. But with lots of them, like even if it's something that you have on your phone and you downloaded it, it will not work without internet connection, because it will actually require you to get something from the server back and forth. So I don't think like your professor is right, but what I see as an app, and that's how I'm using it, is something that is interactive, and your changes on the screen will affect what you see in the view. Let's see actually what's the definition of app. What's the of app in computer computer science? Yeah, let's see. Actually, maybe I'll learn something. In computer science, app, short of application or application software, is a type of computer program designed to help the end user platform specific tasks. So probably that's what I'm saying. Actually, you can affect what's out there, such as creating documents, browsing the internet, listening to music, or playing games. So this is actually, there is some logic that it's actually managing. So it's not just displaying data, it's also allowing you to change the data, but also like for example, if you are listening to music, it's basically streaming. So it's actually there's really like this is just like constant downloading of data from the server. So this is specific type of app, but it's still interacting with server all the time. Playing games, obviously, game is interactive, so this is 100% what I just said. Browsing the internet, so the app, like a browser, is actually an app, but like the internet website is not really. That doesn't have to be an app in the way I see it. It can be, if it has some more interactions, some more if it works with database, but it doesn't have to be. Creating documents, so basically you're just exporting something. So yeah, I think like I'm not that wrong I think I'm quite right in my definition of app. So it's a software application software, and the platform itself, it doesn't really need to be a phone. It doesn't mean that it's a browser or if it's native to your Windows. It's still about what it does. That it has some logic that will actually allow you to do something on the view, like changing something in the view. Yeah, any other questions, guys? I do like the interaction today. I think it's much more lively today than I remember some of the podcasts. I think last week I was actually it was really good because I was speaking to my buddy Łukasz, and we were talking about the value of computer science, studying computer science, and I was actually quite negative about it, and I will probably stay that way. I don't know, like it's actually valuable to spend time on university for that, and I did that myself, so I can't really be, I don't know if I'm the person to be judging people for choosing that, because I chose it myself. But now in hindsight, I wouldn't go to university for that, or I wouldn't like as soon as I finished school, I should have actually just go to the market. That was my view, and you can actually watch it in my previous podcast. Make sure to subscribe. I actually do love subscribers. And I do like to see you guys actually coming back. And, for example, here we have xstacy.com.dev. We actually had like a long conversation the other day. We actually cooperated on some stuff. I still didn't implement changes that he suggested in his report, so I'm sorry for that, my friend. But I'm still actually there to do. Yeah. Amazon has an app and a website both. Although, like I would see, because on Amazon you can almost you can browse it as a website, I guess. But there's a lot of logic out there. It's really like I do think that app or application is something that allows you to change something on the view. And whether the way it does it, it doesn't really matter that much. But in terms of what it's doing, it's actually, this is what app is. And I think like, oh, this is me. Yeah, this is me. I'm actually, so this is the topic today. So as I said, I've built this app. I think I'm happy with the output I've got. And this is the first app in my 15 years of experience as a software developer where I wrote it 100% or like 80% by AI agent. And like first time in my career where I would actually rely on AI agent like almost often without even looking at what it does. Usually I would just very meticulously, even if I allowed it to write, I would actually read the code very, very closely and just make sure that I like the way it does it. Latest update on Notepad of Windows in Windows. No, I think it was hacked or something, wasn't it? Like the Notepad was hacked. I don't know. I'm using Notepad++. Seems to be a broke. I heard it was actually hacked as well. I don't really. Maybe. Yeah. Notepad is the simplest app on the like on the Windows, and it was built like initially so many years ago. But they seem to be tinkering with that and just trying to maybe add some AI to everything, which doesn't always work. I think usually like AI is a hindrance rather than help in most of the websites I find it on. So often, I see a website that I used to use and there is a new AI feature that blocks the things that I'm used to. Yeah. That Microsoft wants to do it. I think like they think that this is how you actually, how they should be, that everything should have AI. I don't agree. I think we should limit the amount of AI interactions in the apps, and especially like because it's very expensive in terms of computation. So like for example, here I'm talking about writing code with AI, but the code that I wrote, I actually like my app doesn't really use AI because this is just using traditional sort of traditional stack of things. It's just working with backend to save some data, to update some data, to calculate, then it calculates something on the front end. So this is quite traditional way of building apps. If I wrote this with AI, I might actually add some AI here. I might actually have a prompt that will allow you to add a delivery from the prompt, from the agent. But that's something that I might actually do in the future. But that's not something that is required for this app for this app to be used. And I think it's more of a nice feature that might actually help some people rather than something that is crucial in the app. The problem also with AI apps, if they're like 100% AI, it's really hard to actually make money on them because the margins are not that high. Because the more like if I have the difference between 10 users, or like for this app, for me to run it on the server that I have, I need like 2 users per month to pay me for it. And then everything on top of that is me earning money. And for me to scale it's not that expensive. So the scaling, so if I get new customers, let's just draw it. Paint. So is this like paint? Where are my tools here? Yeah, can I draw on paint anymore? Is this like oh yeah, here. Yeah, okay, let's just remove those guidelines here. So let's say this is the cost of the app, yeah? So this is how much it costs, how much I make, and this is how much it costs me, yes? So I will just write it down. Home. Revenue. And here the why does it disappear all the time? Keep it here. Make this dock it. Yeah, okay. And then like the second one is revenue cost cost to run. Yes, so if we actually have that kind of chart, and if it's AI, this is the let's say this is the amount of user. If your use, sorry, that's not revenue. Sorry, this is not revenue. I don't know how can I edit that. This is come on, no, I can't. This is a amount of users, but this is obviously tied to revenue. Can I users? So this is how many users I get, and if they're growing, my cost to run the AI app is growing almost equally. So this is the cost of AI, and this is the what I'm making. So the difference is not that big, and this is where my earnings are. This is my revenue. And in terms of like traditional app that I have here, for example, like my app, when my users grow. Okay, sorry, no. So this is how those are users growing, and this is revenue. Also, that's how I see it. So this is the revenue, and this is how my users are growing. And in my app, if the users are growing, so let's say this is the line of users growing. So this is the same line as previously. My costs to run. So actually, I did really badly. My cost to run is probably somewhere here, or even like here it goes up and then it kind of flattens, because like I have to scale it up at some point. When I have hundreds of users, I might need to improve my server. When I have between 5 and 100 users, might not be different so much different in the price of me running that's my servers, but then my revenue is actually still growing, so I have actually I have steep growth of users and of revenue. But okay, I don't like actually represented this thought correctly. I hope you understand what I meant. So basically, like with AI app, this is how much users you get, and this is how much you make. This is how much it costs you, and your earnings are somewhere here. In my case, this is how many users I've got, and this is my cost. So this all of this is actually what stays in my pocket. AI is just expensive to run. It's very expensive to scale for us, and it's not really so efficient. I don't feel like people are actually that convinced in using AI for the apps. And some of the apps that I actually, or some of the websites that I used to use, and I was recently showing this example of OLX website. This is like a main this is like a website where you sell your stuff, secondhand stuff in Poland. And I remember for like a year or a year and a half ago, you couldn't almost get into the filters here section. You couldn't filter things because they actually introduced AI agent, and I actually stopped using this website. I just hated it. I was used to working with filters, and then when they actually abstracted those filters, it was really harder to find it. I stopped using this app, and I think they actually had to go back on this AI thing because one, it was probably expensive, and two, people stopped using. They could see that their their revenues were in the down. That's what I'm guessing. They didn't talk about it, but I think this what happened. I am very used to searching things like here, writing down what I'm looking for, or using filters. And when the website is trying to replace that with AI, this is a problem for me, and I stopped using those those websites. Will you pay for AWS cloud when users increase? Yes, I mean, I will have to. I mean, I don't know if I will go to AWS. I might actually just stay on render because render is simple to run. So I might actually stay on render, or I might actually go to AWS or to Google. I don't know. At this stage, I really, the thing is, like, if I have if I'm on the stage where I have enough customers to cause a problem with my servers, I'm in a good stage. I really will love that scenario, you know, because this will mean that I'm actually the couple of gigabytes I can actually master here on render. Let's go to render. So here on render, I have some bandwidth I can use, some server space, and once I start running out of this, and I will have to, I might need to scale it at some point to more, you know, to have to use more cores or more RAM and stuff like that. I might actually scale it here, but for me to upgrade it, it's a couple of dollars. But right now, I actually have enough for like 10, maybe 15 users. Probably it shouldn't really, shouldn't be that much. And if I get like 10 to 15 users, it will be actually enough money. It will pay enough for me to actually scale it to the level where I will be allowing my app to actually be used by hundreds of users or thousands of users. And believe me, when I'm in the stage where I have hundreds of users or thousands of paid users, I'm an actually rich person. You know, I don't have to worry too much about, you know, whether the costs of scaling this app will cost me, if it will cost me a few $100s or a few $1,000s even. That might not be a big problem. So I might even be able to stay here and not worry about that, or I will just pay someone to actually migrate it to a better server, to AWS, for example, if it's better, or to some Google GCP or whatever, Azure. I don't really like Microsoft, but maybe to a Microsoft. So I think that's where I'm, and that's why. But for now, I'm happy here. It's an easy to use service, and for me to get to like really to scale it up is not that expensive now. So I might actually stay here in render, but we will see. In college, people are adding chatbot in every project in the name of AI by using Google Studio API. Yes, that's what I see actually. I see it's not only in your project. Sorry, it's not only in your college. This is actually answer to Tawab Shakir. Yeah, I hope I read it correctly. The chatbot. I might add chatbot feature, but this is expensive and I don't really see value for now. This might be just for marketing purposes, you know, or like some users might use it, but I feel like for me to see a value in adding AI agent to it, this is again, I think Tawab wrote it and deleted it. But like I don't see the reason actually to replace my, for example, the way like my forms with AI agent, because it's you know, it's a lot of development for me. I would have to learn a lot as well, and the problem with AI agents they're not very predictive, so it's really hard for me to actually, like for example, if someone wants to manage his deliveries with AI agent, it doesn't mean that he will always get the same results with, like he would have to, like it's much easier to do it this way, I think. I might get convinced otherwise, but I don't feel like it's actually that much value in this application. So I might actually, with my app, I might use AI agent I might add AI agent with prompt, with chat, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I will see. Yes. Okay, so that's I think this is on my app. I think I'm very positive about how, I think I'm positive about that I will be using AI agents in building apps in the future. I think it's a good way to do it. It's a good shortcut, and I would recommend people using it that way. Whether like I like the shift in my career personally, because I used to be, as I said before, I used to be like more of a developer. I would be building a code myself, and I would be much more involved in making sure that the code quality is high in my standards. Although I, like even in terms of code quality, I'm much more flexible about that now, even after working with AI agent. But like I would be much more involved in thinking about how my code is actually looking how it's actually working, what it's doing, and knowing everything that is there. Yeah, I've got the question from Tavab. It looks cool. Let's see. Okay, let me just record that. So yeah, Tavab is asking, what type of algorithm does it use to manage delivery? Is it already present in logistics domain? Used to other companies? I don't really get that question, to be honest. Basically, like I'm not really using any algorithm. I'm just saving stuff to the database. So if you have your products, can I open it? If you have your products and change something here, there's really no algorithms here. There's just like standard save change to database. So for example, if you change, okay, yeah. Yeah, if you change something here, there's really no algorithm here happening. You know, if you change this to different customer, this is just like save to a database. That's it. There's API call saying change this item, and that's it. There's no algorithms here. There doesn't need to be. There's no really a lot of calculations going on here. This is here just to save your data to do that. Like there is some stuff about when you upload your excellence and like, but that's about it. Yeah, they're just crude, most crude operation. Mostly crude operations. Just copy, just not copy, just changing something in database, calling stuff from database, updating things, and that's most of it. This is like like in a way, this is a very traditional app. This is something that was built many times, like with. I mean, not this exactly application, but there's a lot of most of the apps in the past or even currently are built this way. There's not much actually magic out there. Bro, then why people will use it? Because it's cheaper, simpler than what's on the market, and it's actually it's actually solving problem for some specific group of people. It's not there to replace Microsoft, or it's not there to replace even the competition. It's there to actually get some portion of the market. You can actually build apps without making them the best. You can make apps that are actually very niche, but the thing is, like, this app took 3 months, and if I get 50 users on it, and I will have 50 users for the next couple of years, it will pay itself, and it will actually pay for itself. If I get a couple of 100 users, and this is not really out of ordinary for that kind of apps. If I get couple of 100 users, I can probably, or like if my users get into thousands, this is not that many actually, if you think of it worldwide. But if I get to thousands paid users, I can actually choose the latest Ferrari. I think I'm at that stage, or I can, I don't have to worry about money anymore. If I get 50 users, this will be a nice actually app that will make me some money. I can build another app within the next 3 months that might actually make another, couple of €1,000 or something per month, and that's it, And I might have in the future a couple of those apps, and there will be, instead of working for some corporation, it will be actually, they will be making money for my family to, to sustain itself. So, we are not always there, or our apps don't always have to be the best on the market. The goal of my app doesn't have to be to replace Microsoft or to make billions. That's not the goal of that app. It doesn't have to get there. It has to contribute to my family budget. That's what I want this app to do. It doesn't have to win the market. It doesn't have to take over the delivery market. It doesn't have to do that. It can just make a bit of money. It can allow me to actually build on that. Maybe maybe I might actually, with this app, I might actually get a couple of hundreds of customers that will help me to pay for building it more, you know, to adding more features, and then I might actually get some bigger portion of the market. That might be so that might happen at one point. But to be honest, it doesn't have to be the best app. And like wherever you are building, you don't have to build the best app. If you want your app to be profitable, you have to convince customers to use it. And for example, you can see you just mentioned today that, you know, Microsoft released a new notepad and they tried to actually add AI to their notepad. And look what sort of opportunity they're making for others. Someone else can make a simple notepad now and try to release it and try to get the market because Microsoft messed up. And that might be actually something that, you know, I might actually benefit at some point. You know, there might be someone who will build their app beyond, or might actually destroy their app because they try to add too many features, and they might actually make it too difficult to use. And then my app is simpler, so people might actually move there. Just make something which can and have. But then you keep on adding messages and then removing them. So it's really hard to respond to your messages. But yeah, build apps, and then don't think about, you know, replacing Microsoft or something. You might actually I started to thinking about just looking into what, I don't know, Google or Microsoft does, what actually makes the money, and trying to get that function, like build that kind of stuff myself and see if I can get like a portion of their market. Because if you get like 0.25% of Microsoft's like market in one, like if I get like 0.25% of because there is Microsoft 360, yeah, if I actually manage to, no, it's not 360, sorry, I'm just calling, I don't remember. They have actually something for deliveries and stuff, you know. Microsoft have something for deliveries. If I get like 0.25% of their customer base, I'm sorted, you know. And it's not like I gonna revolutionize my market, but this will actually make me enough money for my family. Just my point of view is that. Thank you, sir. But this is actually a very common point of view. This is not your point of view. So Tavab, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Tavab is saying that, you know, obviously, like, this is a very common point of view. He's saying that, you know, if you are not really making something the best on the market, why are you making it? And this is very incorrect thinking. That's the way I used to think myself, you know. What's the point of making this app? If it's already done by Google, or if it's already done by Microsoft. What's the point of doing that? They've got more money, more developers. But the point is, you know, if you can actually capture a fraction of the market, you are actually much cheaper, you know. You don't have to take all the market. You don't have to go take all of their billions. You can just take a fraction, because for you it's a lot of money anyway. You know, they have to have hundreds of millions of customers to sustain their model, because they have thousands of people working on this app. And if you can actually just take a fraction of their user base with a fraction of your costs, and this will, and you will build something cheaply that will just take away some of their market, you are actually a winner here. Because there's a lot of bloat in those corporations, and they're actually wasting a lot of money on you know, just development costs and building features that are not always necessary. So if you can actually build a feature and convince people to buy it, then instead of buying the other, you know, Microsoft stuff, you are actually the winner here. And it took me many years to realize that, you know. I don't have to build the best app on the market. I just have to I have to build an app that will actually solve problem for some customers. And if there's enough customers that will pay for it, I'm actually on the money. Yeah. I think like I'm getting close to, this is actually a popular live stream. What I will do, like I think I will be finishing soon. This part, I will actually edit this one. Our college professor. Okay, this is another thing that Tavab said. Let's just read it. Our college professors are telling that if Google Lens can do that, what is use of your ML model of image recognition? Make something new. Now this is really bad because like you can still improve on that. Like I don't really like what they're saying. You know, you don't have to make something new. You can just make something different and slightly. You might just improve one feature. That will be enough for you to actually make money. Because it's also, you know, you don't have to replace Google. Your goal is not to replace Google. You have to make money for your family or something like that. That might be your goal. Or you might want to actually build something that you will enjoy using, and that one might be enough. And you don't have to capture entire Google's market. Doesn't matter, you know, just because Google did something doesn't mean that you can't really do it again. You might actually do it again cheaper. And if you do it cheaper, you are actually winning some market. You might actually win some market from them. And this will give you enough money to actually build on what you already built. And maybe then you can compete with Google. Because if you actually get like, you know, if you put your passion and your time and you get some money, actually you start making money, you can actually bring more people with passion. Maybe you will build something more exciting. Maybe you will build it better at that point, but you need to actually be making money in order to keep on investing in that. And you know, for you to compete with Google, it doesn't mean that you cannot compete with them with throwing more development time or like more money into it. But you can compete with them with your passion. Yeah, don't listen. Like that's why the problem with university professor, and this is actually back to my point from last week. The problem with university professors is most of them never built anything. They never released anything. They don't have to even make money on the market. You know, they can just teach in school, and they will have always students that are almost forced to actually come and listen to them. That's a problem because like the best professors I had on my university, and there was like one out of 5 of professors were people from the market, and they kind of understood how to make money, and their advice would be good. And the rest of the professors were just professors. There would be a people whose job was to teach people, and their advice often is very bad. You know, mostly I wouldn't listen to them, especially like with this kind of advice. If you cannot make it better than Google, you shouldn't even try. This is horrible advice. This is something that I would really not recommend. If you can make something if it's fun for you to build, and if you have a passion to build it, you know, release it, try to sell it. But then you might actually realize that because you made it simpler or you made it cheaper than Google, it doesn't have to be better. Often it must convince some people that it's good for them. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like that you're yeah. Thanks for your interactions, my friend. This is very good. Those are very good questions that you are asking. And to sum up my poll from today. If you had a large development budget, would you still use AI for building apps? And most of the people say, and I agree with you guys. If I had a almost infinite development budget, AI is there to be used. This is not something that you will replace people with, obviously. Sorry, I'm covering the poll. Let me just hide my face. You will obviously not replace people with AI, and I don't like, as I'm saying often, I'm not being replaced by AI, but it's a great technology to use in your project. This is actually a big improvement. This will help. Like AI will improve your development speed. It will improve your code quality if you actually look at it often. You know, often if you control it, the code quality will improve as well. It's a resource to be used, and I think like even if I had a budget, like an infinite budget, I would still use AI for programming my app. And I used it. I'm very satisfied with the output. I've seen some downsides, obviously, but the benefits really outweigh the downsides. So that I will use it in the future, and certainly I would recommend it to other developers to at least to know how to use it. And if you are not convinced, I think like it's worth to actually try a project and see how it goes, and hopefully release it as well. But yeah, I think that's what I think. I will release this as a podcast, and I will be doing those podcasts every week. If you are interested in joining me, if you want to talk about something interesting, maybe your project, that would be the best, or some of the ideas you would like to build, or your potential projects, hit me up. Hit me up on what's the Paint? Yeah, just do it here. How do I? Come on! Where's my cursor? Here. I think they're trying to use AI here. So it's contact at pixels and logic.eu. If you want to contact me, this is my my contact details. If you want to join me on the podcast, I really enjoyed talking to people, and I would love to hear especially about your SaaS ideas. I think that's the most fun for me now those days. So if you have an experience there and you want to talk about that, I will be happy to talk to you. Contact me on that email if you have anything interesting to talk about. We might actually arrange a next podcast with you. This is number 2 today. This was number 2 podcast about how I used where I used 80% of I used AI to write 80% of my SaaS app, which is a huge percentage for me. I would write myself 80%. I would usually, like, even since AI was introduced as a like agents, since AI agents were introduced to VS Code, for example, I would be writing still most of the code myself. Like 80% would be written by me. Then like some of the stuff I would be using as suggestions from Copilot. Now this was actually created mainly by AI, and I'm quite convinced that this was a good choice. Yeah. So thanks for coming. I really enjoyed talking. Join me on my podcast next week. I don't know what I'll be talking about, and if you have anything interesting to talk about and you want to join me and want to speak to me on the podcast, like we can arrange something in the future. Yeah, thanks for coming, and see you around. Oh, and make sure to subscribe. Yeah, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and all those good things. And like or dislike wherever. I think interactions are important for me, wherever positive or negative. Just make sure you do all of those things. I really enjoy that. Thanks for coming, and see you next week, or like on my live streams, which I almost do daily now. So see you around. Thanks.